Welcome back to the Fairy Frequency channel. Today I am reading to you from Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming by Stephen LaBerge, Ph.D. and Howard Rheingold. So if you've missed any of the previous chapters of this dreamy book, you can find them in our original playlist titled Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming on our playlist tab. If you're new to our channel, please make sure you smash that like for us, hit the big red button and the little bell so that you get all of the channel notifications. We're very glad you're here, Onironauts, fellow dreamers. It's important to ask yourself, am I dreaming? This is a critical state question that you need to train yourself to ask while you're in your waking state. So make a little card. I just cut this out of a little silver piece of cardboard. And then write in big bold letters, am I dreaming? Keep it somewhere in your pocket or your wallet or someplace where you can ask yourself whenever you feel like things are a little off and strange. Maybe you're missing time or having a deja vu. That would be a good time to pull the card out and ask yourself, am I dreaming? Training ourselves to ask this critical state question in our waking state trains us also to use this critical state question in our dream state. So I encourage you to make yourself one of those little cards. Today's chapter is chapter 9, and it's called Creative Problem Solving. Set that candle back there just a little bit, and let's get started with today's chapter. Chapter 9, Creative Problem Solving. Creative problem solving. Creative dreams. I'm a department store manager in a home furnishings store at a mall. In the housewares department, we do a lot of floor moves, moving fixtures, relocating mass displays of goods, etc. When the idea comes up between the store manager and display manager and myself that the floor needs some revamping, I go home, go to sleep, and I will dream of being in the store by myself. I try doing a floor move. I move fixtures around, always quickly in the dream, just by a flick of my finger. I know that I'm in a dream, and I want to find the troublesome merchandise that's always difficult to display and find a place for it in my dream. I always remember these dreams. Actually, it is a joke at work because it has happened often. Jay-Z, Lodi, New Jersey. If I'm working on my car and I try to repair something complicated, and finally at midnight find myself unable to proceed, I give up and go to bed. I purposely dream about the problem and, knowing it to be a dream, try different approaches to solving the problem. Always before morning, I find a way to do the job. And when I try it the next day, it works. It seems to me that concentrating on a problem holds me to tunnel vision, while the dream state has unlimited dimensions. J.R., Seattle, Washington. In the fall of 1986, while I was taking chemistry, I began to solve problems while sleeping. The majority of these problems were molecular equations involving two compounds and 4 to 6 elements. I would realize that I was dreaming and proceed to work out the problem, breaking it down to an ionic equation. If you have done this type of problem, you can understand the difficulty involved. Every time I would be almost done with the problem, the scene would begin to fade and I would have to reinduce lucidity. I did this by shaking my head or spinning. After strengthening the lucid dream, I would have to rewrite the problem and do it again, only faster. Upon awakening, I would simply write it down and check it. My dream answers were correct 95% of the time. What was great about solving problems this way was that I usually woke up with a better understanding of this process. of the process involved. I had about 5 dreams of this type a week. KD, Lauderhill, Florida. Throughout recorded history, dreams have been regarded as a wellspring of inspiration in nearly every field or endeavor: literature, science, engineering, painting, music, and sports. Well-known examples of dream-inspired figures from literature include Robert Louis Stevenson, who attributed many of his writings to dreams, including The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge and his opium dream poem, Kubla Khan. In science, there is Frederick Kekule's dream discovery of the structure of the benzene molecule, and Otto Loewy's dream-inspired experiment demonstrating the chemical mediation of nerve impulses. In the field of engineering, there are several instances of inventions revealed in dreams, including Elias Howe's sewing machine. Painters such as William Blake and Paul Klee have also attributed some of their works to dreams. Composers, including Mozart, Beethoven, Wagner, Tartini, and Saint-Saëns, have credited dreams as a source of inspiration. In sports, one of the most familiar cases is master golfer Jack Nicklaus, who claimed to have made a discovery in a dream and improved his game by 10 strokes overnight. These examples, and those quoted at the beginning of this chapter, should make clear the remarkable creative potential of dreams. Given that dreams are such fertile fields for inspiration, why is there not yet a school of dreaming in the Western world? The answer may lie in the fact that dreams are unpredictable. Though a great breakthrough may appear in a dream, rarely can an artist or thinker decide, "Tonight I will find the solution to my problem." Dream incubation techniques are one step toward deliberately accessing the creativity of dreams. Since the age of Egyptian civilization, people have used dream incubation to try to induce dreams about the problem that they are trying to solve. A more efficient method, however, may be to seek answers to problems in lucid dreams. One can try to incubate a lucid dream on the problem, or once in a lucid dream, intentionally turn one's will toward the question in mind. Instead of waiting for the muse to visit, the artist can call on her. The examples above suggest a very wide range of potential applications, from car repairs to painting to mathematics. We believe you can learn from the experiences of others how to use the creative potential of your lucid dreams to solve problems and invoke inspiration. Once researchers have investigated creativity in dreams more thoroughly, they should be able to give you more precise guidance in how to use your sleeping time to solve problems and be creative. Meanwhile, here are some ideas. The creative process. I discovered in high school that I was a lucid dreamer when I learned that I could study complicated mathematical and geometry problems before going to bed, and discovered that I was able to solve the problems when I awakened. The phenomenon followed me through college and medical school. When I was in medical school, I began to apply my sleep-solving abilities to medical problems, quickly running through the questions of the day and usually finding useful solutions or useful additional questions in the process. Even today, I will occasionally wake up at 3 in the morning and call the hospital to order a special laboratory test on a problem patient, the possible solution of which had occurred to me in a lucid dream. At this point, the greatest use to which I have been able to put this facility is in the practice of surgery. Each night before retiring, I review my list of surgical cases, and I actually practice these cases in my sleep. I have gained a reputation for being a rapid and skilled surgeon with almost no major complications. The surgical practice has allowed me from the very beginning to constantly review the anatomy and to refine and polish technique by eliminating unnecessary motions. I am presently able to perform most major complex procedures in 35% to 40% of the time taken by most of my peers. R.V. Aiken, South Carolina. With both my husband and myself finishing college in May, we can now think about starting a family. Lately, I have been concerned with names for babies. During this latest lucid dream, I talked with Robert, my husband, about names I liked. Of course, he agreed with me on my favorite names because I wanted it that way. I even dreamed that I borrowed a baby to try out the names. I took the baby to both sets of parents and reran the same scene over and over. Mom and Dad, this is Chris. Mom and Dad, this is Justin, etc. This went on, and I watched for my parents' reactions to the names. Finally, I settled on a boy and girl's name. When I awakened after having another dream, I couldn't remember the two names I had felt so good about during the earlier dream. I thought about it all day long, but couldn't remember them. That night, I started another lucid dream and stopped it in the middle. I remembered that in the name dream, I had told a girlfriend the two names, so I called her in the dream and asked her. She told me. I woke myself up immediately and said the names over and over out loud. Now I remember the names. L.H. Hayes, Kansas. Creativity means different things to different people. Some people may find the word threatening because we are often taught that creativity is a rare talent that only artists really know how to use. However, all creativity means is the use of the imagination to produce some new thing, from a work of art to a homework paper. We can't help being creative. The essence of creativity is the combination of old ideas or concepts into a new shape. Each sentence we speak, if it is not a direct quotation, is creative. How creative a thing or act is depends on the uniqueness of the use of the elements involved. What makes high creativity so elusive is that, in general, we do not know how to evoke the state of mind in which we can easily make new, unique, and useful associations between ideas. The key issue is in creativity research is to discover a means of readily accessing such states of mind. At will. Dreams can be a fabulous source of creativity. An introduction to what is currently known about the creative process will help you understand why. There are degrees of creativity, just as there are of lucidity. Like the ability to solve problems, creativity is a universal human capacity. As explained earlier, this ability is not restricted to the fine arts or to any formal discipline. It can be applied to anything that can be done innovatively, imaginatively, flexibly, spontaneously. Everybody is creative at one time or another, and some people are creative a lot of the time. As the as the psychotherapist Carl Rogers put it, the action of the child in inventing a new game with his playmates, Einstein formulating a theory of relativity, the housewife devising a new sauce for the meat, a young author writing his first novel. All of these, in terms of our definition, creative. Creativity researchers agree that creative expression is a process. Inspirations often seem to appear suddenly, out of nowhere, in a flash of illumination. However, there is evidence that the sudden realization is only the part of the process that emerges above the threshold of awareness. While analyzing his own discoveries, the great 19th century German scientist Hermann Helmholtz first described the stages of the creative process: saturation, incubation, and illumination. In the saturation stage, problem solvers gather information and try different approaches without complete success. These preparations might consist of reading, talking to experts, observing, recording, photographing, or measuring. The problem solver then thinks about the problem, concentrate, meditate, model it in their minds, review the research. This is the point at which the mechanic stares at an engine, the painter at a blank canvas, the writer at an empty page, or a computer screen. At the end of this stage, the problem solver says to himself or herself, okay, I've studied the problem. I've thought about it. I've looked at it. Now what's the answer? The next stage is to do nothing. Incubation begins when a problem solver gives up actively trying to solve the problem. handing it over to the realm of the unconscious. Many creative dreamers in the historical literature have decided at this point to take a nap. Other problem solvers have incubated their solution while taking a drive or a long walk. If they have studied enough, analyzing the right aspects of the problem, and if they have fostered the right psychological conditions for the emergence of a creative solution, the incubation phase will then give birth to illumination. Eureka! The sudden arrival of the solution. This is the time of the switching on of the proverbial light bulb. A good example of illumination in a dream born out by verification while awake comes from Nobel Prize winner Otto Lowy. As the physiologist recounted the story, he had a hunch early in his career about the nature of the nerve impulse, but forgot about the idea for 17 years because he couldn't think of an experiment to test his hypothesis. Nearly 2 decades later, he had a dream which presented him with the method of successfully testing this theory. According to Lowy's account, I awoke, turned on the light, and jotted down a few notes on a tiny slip of thin paper. Then I fell asleep. It occurred to me at 6 o'clock in the morning that during the night I had written down something important, but I was unable to decipher the scrawl. The next night at 3 o'clock, the idea returned. It was the design of an experiment to determine whether or not the hypothesis of chemical transmission that I had uttered 17 years ago was correct. I got up immediately, went to the laboratory, and performed a simple experiment on a frog's heart according to the nocturnal design. Lowy eventually won the Nobel Prize for proving that chemicals assist in the transmission of information through neurons. State of mind and creativity. The above discussion of creative process, while noting that the illumination would come if the thinker had fostered the right psychological conditions for creativity, left open the question of what those conditions might be. A few researchers have made a start on this question by exploring the notion that different kinds of knowledge seem to be accessible from different states of consciousness. Elmer and Ailes Green, biofeedback researchers at Menninger Foundation, examined physiological aspects of the relationship between creativity and conscious states by measuring the bodily processes of people involved in the different stages of creative problem solving. The Greens were able to make strong correlations between the illumination phase and at least one physiological distinguishable state of consciousness. They wrote, the entrance, or key, to all these inner processes is a particular state of consciousness in which the gap between conscious and unconscious processes is voluntarily narrowed and temporarily eliminated when useful. When that self-regulated reverie is established, the body can apparently be programmed at will, and the instructions given will be carried out. Emotional states can be dispassionately examined, accepted or rejected, or totally supplanted by others deemed more useful. And problems, insoluble in the normal state of consciousness, can be elegantly resolved. The state of consciousness the Greens refer to is not lucid dreaming, but the hypnagogic or reverie state. Nevertheless, their conclusions would seem to apply even more precisely to the lucid dreaming state, in which the conscious and unconscious minds meet face to face. Carl Rogers also looked at the relationship between creativity and psychological states. In On Becoming a Person, he proposed that 3 psychological traits are especially conducive to creativity. The first trait, openness to experience, is the opposite of psychological defensiveness or rigidity about concepts, beliefs, perceptions, and hypotheses. It implies tolerance of ambiguity and the ability to process conflicting information without finding it necessary to either believe or disbelieve it. As you have seen, the very act of becoming lucid in a dream requires the ability to process the conflicting, ambiguous, and often improbable information presented by the dream flexibly enough to come to the usual conclusion that your experience in the dream is illusory. So once you have succeeded in becoming lucid, the trait of openness to experience is already prepared for you. The second trait is processing an internal source of evaluation. This means that the value of the creative person's product is established not by the praise or criticism of others, but by the individual. This could be nowhere more true than in the lucid dream, when the dreamer is responsible for creating and evaluating the entire experience. The final trait, postulated to be conducive to creativity by Rogers, is the ability to toy with the elements and concepts, to play spontaneously with ideas, colors, words, relationships, to juggle elements into impossible juxtapositions, propose wild theories, explore the illogical. Because lucid dreamers have the potential to do anything in their dreams, lucid dreams could be the ideal experimental workshop. Furthermore, as we will discuss in the next section, the tools available in that workshop may be far more versatile than those we are familiar with in the waking world. Tacit knowledge. The most important idea behind our belief that lucid dreaming can help boost the illumination phase of the creative process is the concept of tacit knowledge. The things you know that you know and can spell out explicitly, such as your street address or how to tie your shoe, are called explicit knowledge. Tacit knowledge, on the other hand, includes what you know but can't explain, how to walk or talk, and what you know but don't think you do, say the color of your first grade teacher's eyes. This latter form of knowing is demonstrated by recognition tests, in which individuals think they are only guessing, but in fact do better than chance would allow. Of the two kinds of knowledge, the tacit variety is by far the more extensive. We know more than we realize. In dreams, we have greater contact with our tacit knowledge than we do while we're awake. If you remember your dreams, you can surely recall having had one in which the likeness of a person whom you have met only once was reproduced with amazing detail in comparison to any description that you could have made of him or her while awake. The explanation of this phenomenon is our access to the tacit knowledge in dreams. In dreams, we have conscious access to the contents of our unconscious minds. Therefore, in our dreams, we are not limited as we are while awake to working with only that tiny portion of our accumulated experience to which we normally have conscious access. Without lucidity, it seems we have no way to determine when or even if a creative dream might occur. However, through lucid dreaming, we may be able to bring the extraordinary creativity of the dream state under conscious control. Consider this next example in which an onironaut managed to find a specific piece of tacit knowledge in the form of a book. In this instance, the dreamer did not find the specific solution in the dreamed book, but upon awakening, he did find it in a real book. The knowledge discovered in this case was that this book contained a clue to the problem, a good example of something you can know without knowing you do. I recently pulled second place in a math competition. When I received a copy of the problems, 5 in all, I spent most of the day mulling over various approaches. When I went to sleep that night, I dreamed lucidly of looking down at a particular math reference book I own. I don't think I dreamed of reading anything in particular in the book, just the act of flipping through it. Subjectively, the dream was only a couple of seconds long. When I woke, I didn't have an opportunity to look through the book until that evening. When I did, I discovered the trick. I needed to solve one of the problems. T.D., Clarksville, Tennessee. Mental modeling. If our hypotheses about creativity in dreams are true, that lucid dreams permit deliberate access to a wide store of knowledge, and that dreams themselves are conducive to creativity, then how can a lucid dreamer make use of this potential? For a hint, take another look at the examples of lucid dreams quoted at the beginning of this chapter. The floor manager dreamed of a dream model of the store, filled with the items to be displayed. The person who solved automobile repair problems did so by bringing the elements of the problems into his dream and manipulating them until a solution emerged. The chemistry student simply continued working on problems as he would while awake. The following letter is an example of another kind of mental model building, in which the lucid dreamer was able to model a highly abstract concept. Note that the dreamer had already been through the preparation and incubation phases. A little over a year ago, I was in a linear algebra class that introduced me to vector spaces. I was having a lot of trouble understanding the topic on more than a superficial level. After about a week of serious studying, I had a lucid dream about an abstract vector space. I perceived directly a four-dimensional space. The dream did not have a visual component, but such abstract dreams are not uncommon for me. The best I can describe that dream is to say that I perceived four coordinate axes that were mutually perpendicular. Since that night, both math and dreaming have been more fun for me, and I've relatively little trouble understanding vector space calculus. T.D., Clarksville, Tennessee. A computer programmer uses her mind's logical processes to model the function of her programs while lucid. I have had programs to write for a class, and before I write them on the computer, I test my way of solving the program during a lucid dream. I have found that many of my ideas wouldn't work or needed something additional. This has saved me many hours of programming outside of class. I actually run my programs in my mind before I ever sit down at the computer. L.H. Hayes, Kansas. The use of lucid dreams to create mental models or problem situations is the basis of the exercises that follow. Mental modeling methods can also be useful to artists. Fariba Bogzarin, artist and dream researcher, uses her lucid dreams to discover the subject of her forthcoming works. She becomes lucid anytime she enters an art gallery in her dreams. In her dream gallery, she finds an art piece that she wishes to bring into the waking world. She carefully observes the medium, texture, and color of the piece. To ensure that she remembers her lucid dream and can later reproduce the artwork, she fixes her gaze on the art object until she awakens, as described in Chapter 5. In 1987, she had a lucid dream that inspired her to learn paper marbling. I am in an art studio teaching a class. One of the students calls me over to look at his work. As I approach, I become aware that I am dreaming. I stand still and look around the room. The art medium looks very unfamiliar to me. I see two water trays with different colors floating on top of the water. Next to the tray, I see many small jars with a variety of colors in them. I take a closer look at the artwork, close enough to touch the paper. At this point, I realize that this must be the marbling technique. I recorded the dream right away and made a sketch of the marbling paper, which the student created in the dream. My curiosity about this medium led me on a search for a teacher who could instruct me in this beautiful art technique. Thereafter, marbling became the medium for my self-expression. One of the most frequent problems we face in everyday life is decision making. Lucid dreaming can help us arrive at informed decisions, as in the following examples. I have been wrestling with the decision to buy a new double-wide mobile home, and then whether or not I should keep my old one or rent it out. That was what I had decided to do, after months of worry and thought. Then Sunday night I went to bed. I was asleep, but I was awake. That sounded demented until I read your article. I was at a big table, kind of like a desk. There were papers before me, and I thought I saw no one. Someone answered my questions from over my shoulder. In my dream, the problem was all laid out neatly and orderly. The pros and cons of my decision were examined. I asked questions. I got answers. I woke up an hour after going to bed, and I knew what I was going to do about the entire problem. Not only was I sure of what I was going to do, buy a new home and sell the old, but I was so comfortable with the decision. It was like I had talked to someone with great authority, someone who knew my needs, my insecurities, and capabilities. K.A., London, Arkansas. Producing creative lucid dreams. This discussion has mentioned two primary approaches to deliberately utilizing the creativity of dreams. One is to seek the answer to your problems once you are in the lucid dream. The other is to incubate a dream about the problem and include in your incubation a reminder to become lucid in the dream. Lucidity, though not absolutely necessary for creative dreaming, offers important advantages. Once you learn how to have lucid dreams frequently, you can have a creative dream whenever you wish, just by acting on your desire to seek an answer or create in your next lucid dream. Of course, the age-old method of dream incubation may help you find answers to non-lucid dreams, but even here, lucidity can help. If you use incubation to stimulate a lucid dream about a particular topic, then your lucidity will give you the power to act freely and consciously, knowing you are dreaming. You could incubate a dream of visiting an expert on your difficulty or of a place that you are thinking of moving to. Or with another kind of problem, you could incubate a dream in which you try a new way of dealing with someone in your life. Being lucid in a dream allows you to reflect on exactly why you are here, to ask Einstein a question about physics, to explore San Francisco and see if you would like to live there, to look in libraries for stories to write, or to try being warm and supportive to your child instead of overcritical. Without lucidity, you might forget your purpose. Another way lucidity can add to the usefulness of creative dreams is by ensuring that you are aware that you are dreaming and that you must be careful to do all you can to recall the dream upon awakening. In non-lucid dreams, even ones of great potential value, there is always a risk that you may forget. Fariba Bogsaran is able to use her intentional focusing technique, which brings her to full awakening with her art image clearly in mind, because she is aware that she is dreaming. The following exercises include an instruction to help you remember to awaken from your creative lucid dreams while your answer or inspiration is still vivid. Lucid dream problem solving. Number 1. Phrase your question. Before going to bed, choose a problem you'd like to solve or a creative breakthrough that you would like to make. Frame your problem in the form of a single question. For example, which investment should I make? Or what will be the theme of my short story? Or how can I meet interesting people? Once you've selected a problem question, write it down and memorize it. Number 2. Incubate a dream about your problem. Use the lucid dream incubation technique, page 158, to try to evoke a dream about your question. Number 3. Use your lucid dream to generate solutions. Once in a lucid dream, ask the question and seek the solution to your problem. Even if you become lucid in a dream that doesn't exactly address your problem, you can still seek the answer. You can look for or conjure up a person or place that you need, or seek your solution where you are. It may help to question other dream characters, especially if they represent people who you think might know the answer. For example, if you were trying to solve a physics problem, Albert Einstein might be a good person to ask in your dream. To visit an expert advisor, try using the spinning a new dream scene exercise, page 161, or simply explore your dream world with your question in mind, while remaining openly receptive to any clues that may suggest an answer. Remember that you unconsciously know many more things than you imagine. The solution to your problem may be among them. Number 4. Remember to awaken and recall the dream once you have an answer. When you obtain a satisfying answer in the dream, use one of the methods suggested in Chapter 5 or your own to awaken yourself. Immediately write down at least the part of the dream that includes your solution. Even if you don't think the lucid dream has answered your question, once it begins to fade, awaken yourself and write down the dream. You may find on reflection that your answer was hidden in the dream and you did not see it at the time. Building a lucid dream workshop. I do this frequently. I have a certain computer program to design. At night, I will dream that I am sitting in a parlor, an old-fashioned one that Sherlock Holmes might use. I'm sitting with Einstein, white bushy hair in the flesh. He and I are good friends. We talk about the program. Start to do some flowcharts on a blackboard. Once we think we've come up with a good one, we laugh. Einstein says, "Well, the rest is history." Einstein excuses himself to go to bed. I sit in his recliner and doodle some code in a notepad. Then the code is all done. I look at it and say to myself, I want to remember this flowchart when I wake up. I concentrate very hard on the blackboard and the notepad. Then I wake up. It is usually around 3:30 a.m. I get my flashlight, which is under my pillow, get my pencil and notepad next to my bed, and start writing as fast as I can. I take this to work, and usually it is 99% accurate. MC, West Chazy, New York. It might be possible to build a mental model not of a specific problem, but of a workshop for solving all manner of problems, or stimulating creative breakthroughs. We've already seen evidence for the potential of this approach in the lucid dream garage implied by the mechanic, in the parlor equipped with Albert Einstein and blackboard used by the computer programmer, and in other creative dreams in which the lucid dreamer created tools and situations applicable to the problem. Remember the fairy tale about the cobbler and the elves who did his work while he was sleeping? At least one well-known man of letters, the writer Robert Louis Stevenson, created his own dream workshop, replete with assistants, his brownies as he called them, who helped him produce many of his most famous works. Stevenson remarks on his dream helpers. The more I think of it, the more I am moved to press upon the world my question. Who are the little people? They are near connections of the dreamers beyond doubt. They share in his financial worries and have an eye to his bank book. They have plainly learned, like him, to build the scheme of a considerable story and to arrange emotions in progressive order. Only I think they have more talent, and one thing is beyond doubt. They can tell him a story piece by piece, like a serial, and keep him all the while in ignorance of where they aim. Who are they then? And who is the dreamer? Stevenson was not explicit about whether his brownies were characters of lucid dreams. It appears from his reports that they were mental images that appeared during lucid hypnagogic reverie. The technique the writer used was to lie in bed with his forearm perpendicular to the mattress. He found that he could drift easily into his familiar fantasy workshop, and if he fell into a deeper sleep, his forearm would fall to the mattress and awaken him. Stevenson credited his brownies with coming up with the plot for his famous story, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Exercise. Building a lucid dream workshop. Here are some ideas for building a lucid dream workshop of your own. You will need an inspiring environment, gifted helpers, powerful tools. The first step is to create the environment. If you feel you need magnificent surroundings, you can create them. If the atmosphere you seek is that of a starving artist in a garret, so be it. If you are a computer programmer, you can seat yourself at your ultimate dream computer. You can create a fortress of solitude on an uninhabited planet or surround yourself with companions. Give your rooms doors and windows into other dimensions where help might be found. After initially creating your workspace in a lucid dream, each time you visit it, you can add finishing touches. Put treasure chests, reference libraries, or workbenches into your structure, whatever you might possibly need to inspire and empower your creative work. When you're satisfied with your environment, enlist helpers, experts, teachers, assistants, wizards, consultants, muses, galactic councils. If you want to learn to paint, summon Rembrandt, go fishing with Hemingway or Hess, and talk about that novel you've always wanted to write. Ask your helpers to get you started on your specific problem or creative challenge. Build or conjure tools, an idea machine, or a magical paintbrush. If this exercise works for you, don't forget to return your workshop every once in a while. Your mental model will grow increasingly capable of empowering your creativity. The more problems you solve there, the more inspiration you find there, the more power the workshop will have for you. That is the end of chapter 9. So remember, folks, if you've missed any of the previous chapters of this amazing, dreamy, and metaphysical book, you can find them in our original playlist titled Exploring the World of Lucid Dreaming on our playlist tab. Also, don't forget to leave us a comment. That's how we're getting back over to your channels and making sure that we're still connected with you too. And don't forget to check out our community tab too. We love to see you over there and always look forward to reading your wonderful comments. Thanks again for joining us, folks. Have a wonderful day.